Okay, in the second segment for the Microsoft Access query questions, let's tackle these actual questions here and look at who won in 1977 from the Super Bowl database. If I back up and look at the questions I need to address, first off is what table is involved? Well, in Microsoft Access for the Super Bowl database, I only have a single table, and that is the listing of all the sports teams. So let's start here with the Create Query Design, and we'll add the Super Bowl table since that's our only option. And also notice that the second question, as far as which tables or how are they related and joined, well, we only have one table, so we don't have to worry about that. The third question is, what output do we want to see? Well, probably the key thing here is the year, because we're going to use that later on from 1977, but we also need to know the AFC team, the NFC team, and who was the winner. So we double click and bring all these values down here. And then usually I like to run the query before I add any criteria just to make sure I get some kind of data that is being returned. Go back to the design view, and now I can address question number 4, which is how do I want to filter the results. So back into Access, I would put in the criteria 1977, tab through that. Note the automatic quotes there to be able to match that string up against the year value. We'll run it, and we have just a single row being returned because 1977 is the primary key for this particular table, so I just have one row. And this is the year that the Raiders beat the Vikings. Unfortunately, I'm a Vikings fan, so that was kind of a sad year, but a great year for the Raiders. Okay, let's go back to the design view and address the next question. And notice again how we have, these are more business oriented in the sense we're kind of like math word problems. How many times has the NFC won? That's what we're going to look at next here. And that's this question here. How many times has the NFC won? So I will create a new query design. Again, add the Super Bowl table, and at this point I have to figure out what is my output, and I really just care about a particular number. And first I'm going to click on winner, because winner is going to tell me whether it was the AFC or the NFC. If I run that, I have my listing of all the different Super Bowls listed here. I go back to view, and then I will now put in my criteria, NFC, tab through there, run that, and I find that the NFC has won 22 times. Now what I really want to do though is get that answer, the 22, as the result coming back. So what I'm going to do is add in the primary key of the year, and then I'm going to highlight the sigma symbol up here to reveal this totals row, which is right here, and I'm going to change the group by to the function count. Count will count the number of rows being returned based on this criteria over here. I'm counting the primary key because I'm always guaranteed of having a value for the primary key. So let's run that, and now I have NFC is the winner, count is 22, I have a single row being returned. That's easy to interpret, and that's a key thing from an analysis perspective, is to reduce the number of rows. Okay, let's do a little bit more challenging query. What is the largest margin of victory? So we'll go back and create another query. Query design, add that. And the key thing here is I need to determine what is a margin of victory. Well, if we look at the AFC score and the NFC score, and I run the query, I can get an idea here. Margin of victory is basically the delta points between these two different scores. In this case, the first row, 10 and 35. Again, I don't care about who had the largest margin of victory or what year it occurred in. I just want to know what it is, what that actual number is. So we have to do a little bit of work to get there. First off, what we'll do is we'll get rid of this particular column here in the output results, and I'm just going to type in NFC score and tab through, or minus NFC score. So now a couple of things have happened here. I have a mathematical expression, AFC score minus the NFC score. I have brackets around the two fields. That indicates that these are actual fields and not just something I've typed in. Let me run that, and now I have a single column with all of my numbers listed there. And if I then, this expression comment up front here, I'm going to type in margin of victory because I want to have my column header look a little bit nicer. So if I go ahead and run that, here, expand this out, margin of victory is listed on the top, and then here's the different values. But notice that margin of, or that the current display has some negative values in it. And if you remember back to your basic math, the one way to get rid of negative values is to use the absolute value function. And in this case, within Access, it's ABS, parentheses. I go way to the end, put in another parentheses, let me tab out, expand that so you can see the entire syntax right here. So I have margin of victory, absolute value of the AFC score minus the NFC score. And if I go ahead and run that, now I have a bunch of numbers, all positive, and if I scroll through here I can find 45 as the result, but I don't want to have to scroll through. So there's another function that I can use that would give me the largest. Let you think about that for a second here. Again, I'm going to click on the totals to reveal this group by listing here, go to the drop down list, and I see I have a maximum function. So tab through there, run that, and there's my value. Margin of victory is 45. And for trivia fans, I believe that was San Francisco 49ers against the Broncos, that they won by 45 points. So that, if we then go back and look at this last question, largest point total, that's basically the same formula as we have here, except instead of a minus, we'll put in a plus. We run that, 75 points is the total. So I can go in and manipulate, change the mathematical expressions as I need to here to affect my output. So this will wrap up segment 2 on database access.